Welcome to another lecture with Professor Dennis. This time we are focusing on literature is everywhere. I'm going to start, as always, with a PowerPoint. Let me get this pulled up nice and big for you. So classical literature really is everywhere. We're going to look at what literature is, the different genres, different modalities for literature, and finding the classics in modern writing. So what is literature? According to the dictionary, it consists of writing in which expression and form, in connection with ideas of permanent and universal interest, are characteristic or essential features, such as poetry, novels, history, biography, and essays. It can also be an entire body of writings of a specific language, period, people, etc., or the writings dealing with a particular subject, the literature of ornithology, or the profession of a writer or author, all of their collected works, or literary work or production, or any kind of printed material such as circulation, leaflets, handbills, and literature describing products and companies. There's much debate over the various types of genres. However, the one area that everyone can agree on is that the major genres of literature are as follows: nonfiction, fiction, poetry, and drama. You'll be reading all of these types of genres this term. The textbook provided for you in the online classroom is nonfiction, as are the academic articles. The short stories and novels are works of fiction. The poetry is self-explanatory, and the play, The Death of a Salesman, is a drama. That is essentially what we mean in literature when we use the word drama: play or screenplay. Now, that's not to say that there aren't subgenres or genres within a genre. That is certainly the area that I'm sure most of you are most familiar with. There's a wide variety of these, and they're the most debated in the area of genre. And I want you to think about, for your discussion this week, your favorite genre. And some of you may have different ideas of what that genre looks like according to it needs to include this or it needs to include that. Those are those areas of debate I was talking about. My favorite genre is fantasy. There's just something about diving into a world where anything can happen and the rules of normalcy don't apply that just appeal to me. What about you? Think about the types of shows you enjoy the most, the stories you like reading, the worlds you write about on your own. What genre, or really subgenre, draws you in and just won't let go? I would like to point out that if we stick to the standard definition of literature as the only modality of literature, all we will ever experience is the written word or live theater for dramas. That's all well and good, and I certainly do love to curl up with a good book. I hope at some point you do too. But there's so much more in our world now thanks to technology. Many published pieces of the drama genre are turned into TV shows and movies. Before the invention of the motion picture, the only way to bring a drama to fruition was through live theater, which I do highly recommend if you ever get the opportunity. It's a completely different viewing experience that's lively and unique. In addition to this, we have open mic nights for performance poetry that gets streamed live. You're going to get to see a few of those as we explore poetry this term. My point is that with the wealth of modalities for artists to present their pieces to us, it's important to remember that literature is not limited to just the written word anymore. With the expansion of the internet came the expansion of the literary frontier. And now that you understand the basics of literature and what literature is, I want you to think about your favorite subgenre. Think about some of the fairy tales, myths, or classics that you already have a basic understanding of. Can you see any of these basic classical elements in your favorite shows? Need some examples? When the original Charmed aired in the late 1990s, it pulled most of its monsters and demons from classical folklore. As it progressed, further elements such as Greek mythology could be found, woven into the storyline, as the sisters had to take on the powers of ancient goddesses. This transitioned into Norse mythology when they had to go up against the Valkyries. The TV shows Hercules and Xena were rich with Greek mythology, with both branching out later into various different mythos, including Egyptian mythology with Hercules, and Celtic, and even some native mythology with Xena, not to mention the historical add-ins with the Roman Empire. If you're familiar with Star Wars, you can see some elements woven and similar, almost mirror image to the Sword of Truth novel series. And don't get me started on the various movies covering Dracula, parts of Dracula, or Frankenstein. These classical items have enriched our culture and literature throughout the decades that followed. Just recently, I even did edits for an author who did a Frankenstein spin-off story. It was a modern-day story where a scientist found the remains of Frankenstein and the insanity that ensued afterwards. That being said, where in your favorite genres are you seeing some classical elements poking through here and there? Does that mean that there are no original stories left to tell? Include some of these thoughts in your initial post for the discussion boards this week. All right, that's all I have for you this time. I'm really looking forward to your discussions and getting to know you through your favorite genres.